New Super Mario Bros. Was a return to 2D Mario games after focusing on the 3D games for the better part of a decade. New Super Mario Bros. On the DS was very well received as it was actually the best selling game on the system, but it took 3 years for the second game in the series on the Wii to come out, which once again sold well, being the 4th best selling Wii game. Another 3 years go by and we get New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS, which didn't sell nearly as well as the previous two, which I think is mostly due to the underwhelming sales of the 3DS itself. So at this point we have 3 games from this series, and people are probably starting to get a little tired of it. So you could imagine what everyone was thinking when New Super Mario Bros. U came out 4 months later. It was actually a release title for the Wii U, but it would have been better received if they hadn't literally just released the 3DS game the same year. Not to mention that New Super Mario Bros. U didn't really bring anything exciting to the table, as opposed to the previous entries. Yeah, it had the baby Yoshis and everything, but we still didn't really need this game. And I'm certainly not saying it's bad by any means, because it's still a good game overall, it just wasn't something to really be excited about. So Nintendo put out the 4th game in the series and the second one in the same year, so surely they were done for a long time, possibly forever, with the New Super Mario Bros. Series, right? Well, not exactly. Because less than a year later, in June of 2013, New Super Mario Bros. U got DLC called New Super Luigi U. This was in celebration of the Year of Luigi, and basically just took the original game, made Luigi the protagonist, tweaked the levels, and boom, new game. If you haven't played it, you may think, why is this a big deal? Why is this guy making a whole video on it? That's because despite it just being a DLC, a lot of people think this is actually better than the original game, and maybe even better than all the other games in the series. So this obviously intrigued me, and I went and played through Luigi U myself, so this is my thoughts on the game, and if it is somehow the best New Super Mario Bros. Game or not. Welcome to a New Super Luigi U retrospective. Like I just mentioned, New Super Luigi U was originally DLC for New Super Mario Bros. U, but even though it was similar to the original game, it still felt like a completely different experience. Yes, the worlds and the levels had the same themes, power-ups, and enemies for the most part. They were still able to make this feel like a unique experience for Luigi. But how did they do that? Well, for starters, the levels are all 100 seconds, which is normally when the game tells you to hurry up in the Mario titles. This is a nice change of pace because now you actually have to worry about the timer for once. I mean, I actually timed out multiple times while playing through this, which would never happen in a Mario game. It adds another layer of difficulty and is just one of the few tweaks that makes this a unique experience. Of course, because of this, the levels are much shorter than the original game, but they are still long enough for 100 seconds to make you sweat a little bit. The next difference is just the fact that you're playing with Luigi, who has his own special gameplay and physics. He can float in the air for a little bit, almost like Yoshi, which can really help in a lot of situations, but he also slides after running, which certainly doesn't help. And this doesn't sound like it makes it that different, but it really does. You have to completely change your strategy when completing these levels, especially with the slipperiness. There's going to be times when you're running and you just don't account for it, and you fall off the edge or get smushed by a moving wall in a castle or something. It takes time to adjust to, and while it can be frustrating, you'll get the hang of it and it'll become less of a problem the more you play. These two main differences make Luigi U feel completely different from Mario U and make this game actually difficult. And that's one thing you will definitely notice when you try this one out. This game is hard. Like I just said, I've timed out on a few occasions, but the level design combined with Luigi's controls is what is hard to handle. You don't know how many times I've accidentally slid off an edge or into an enemy or just anything really. And sure, not every level is that hard, but I've gotten stuck so many times it's crazy. Now sure, I'm certainly not a good player by any means, but I'm not the only one who has had a hard time with Luigi U. But even though this game is hard and can also be frustrating, I still found myself coming back to it and trying the levels again. There was something very satisfying about beating these levels, and I think the short length really helped with that. Even though there were plenty of courses I struggled to beat, it took barely any time and I knew that I wasn't far from that flagpole, which really helped to motivate me. So it can kinda come down to preference. What do you want in a Mario game? Would you rather it be a little easier and chill, something you can play but be nice and relaxed at the same time? Or would you rather play one that's going to make you sweat and stress, but also give a sense of satisfaction with every level? If you choose the latter, then New Super Luigi U is the game for you. Now don't get me wrong, I like this game a lot, and I think it's really cool that it's hard, especially after New Super Mario Bros. U was pretty easy. But like I already said, I am not great at Mario games, so this game was fun, but also incredibly frustrating at times. Especially some of the towers and boss fights. Some of these towers and castles made me want to pull my hair out. It's really just a combination of Luigi's physics and all these moving hazards like gears and walls and spikes and fire, etc. And of course these weren't the only hard levels, far from it, but these seemed to be overly frustrating for me, especially when I ran out of lives and I had to go all the way back to the last one and redo 2 or 3 other hard levels. So this game was most definitely a nice change of pace from the likes of Mario U and even Mario 2 on the 3DS, because I don't think that game was particularly difficult either, but I do think they could have scaled it back just a little bit on some of these levels. But again, I'm not good at these games, so maybe you guys didn't find it as frustrating as I did. And honestly, that's about all I have to say about New Super Luigi U. Since it was DLC, that means it was shorter than the normal games, so there wasn't a ton to talk about unless I'm gonna go breaking down every level and everything, but I didn't feel like that was necessary. But yeah, this is a challenging but also fun and rewarding game. Even though it was an add-on originally, it has really become its own thing, and I feel like a lot of people, including myself, think it's better than the original game. Again, it really comes down to preference, but I think Luigi U lines up more with what a lot of people want in a Mario game these days. So the question I asked myself going into making this video, is Luigi U the best New Super Mario Bros. Game? In my opinion, I would say no, but it's not far off. It's just a little too difficult for my liking, and I would probably prefer either the original on the DS or the one on the Wii. But overall, Luigi U was a good experience and a fun way to cap off the New Super Mario Bros. Series. I don't think it was the best of the 5, but it was a good game and I'm glad I played it. Thanks so much for watching this retrospective. Let me know if you played New Super Luigi U back in the day. Was it too hard, or was the difficulty the perfect amount? If you have any suggestions for games I should make a retrospective on, please leave that in the comments as well. Make sure to subscribe for more retrospectives and have a great day.